Chad slammed the door shut behind him, his heart pounding like a drum in a silent room, as he realized his roommate's dad, Mr. Harlan, had just seen him locked in an embrace with his son, Jake. The older man's face, usually etched with stern lines from years of conservative values, twisted not in rage but in a flicker of something unreadable, perhaps understanding, perhaps pain, that sent a chill down Chad's spine. In that frozen moment, Chad knew their hidden world was about to shatter, exposing secrets that could either bind them closer or tear everything apart. The apartment in downtown Chicago buzzed with the usual Friday night energy, but tonight felt different. Chad and Jake had been careful for months, stealing moments when no one was around. Jake, with his easy laugh and tousled brown hair, had been Chad's anchor since they met as freshmen at the University of Illinois. What started as late-night study sessions evolved into whispered confessions under the covers, a relationship built on shared dreams and the fear of judgment. Mr. Harlan's visit was unexpected. Jake had mentioned his dad might drop by during a business trip, but Chad thought it was just talk. Harlan was the epitome of Midwestern stoicism. A successful lawyer from a small town in Indiana, church-going, family first, the kind who voted, read, and quoted Bible verses at Thanksgiving. Jake had painted him as loving but rigid, the man who'd once grounded him for a week over a suspicious friendship with a theater kid in high school. When Harlan knocked that evening, Jake was in the shower, and Chad answered the door. "You must be Chad," Harlan said, his voice deep and commanding, extending a hand that felt like iron. He was taller than Chad expected, broad-shouldered in a crisp button-down, with salt and pepper hair and eyes that seemed to pierce right through you. They made small talk about classes and the Cubs game while waiting for Jake. But then Jake emerged, towel around his waist, and in a moment of careless joy, he pulled Chad into a quick kiss. "Missed you," Jake murmured, oblivious to the open door. Harlan stepped in just then, suitcase in hand, and time stopped. I didn't mean to interrupt," Harlan stammered, his face paling. Chad pulled away, heat rushing to his cheeks, while Jake froze, the towel slipping slightly. "Dad? What are you?" Harlan set down his bag with deliberate slowness. "Son, we need to talk. All of us." The air thickened with unspoken accusations. Chad wanted to bolt, but Jake's hand on his arm kept him rooted. They sat in the cramped living room, the city lights flickering through the window like distant warnings. Harlan didn't yell. That would have been easier. Instead, he leaned forward, elbows on knees, and asked, "How long has this been going on?" Jake swallowed hard. "A year, Dad. Almost a year." Harlan nodded, processing. Chad braced for the explosion, the disowning, the lectures on sin and family honor. But Harlan surprised them. "I suspected something," he said quietly. "Your mom and we've talked about it. The way you light up when you mention Chad." Jake's eyes widened. You're okay with this?" Harlan rubbed his temples. "Okay? It's not that simple, Jake. I love you, but it's against everything I was raised to believe. The church, our community, they'd crucify us if they knew." Chad felt a spark of hope mingle with dread. Acceptance? From a man like Harlan? But the conversation unraveled from there. Harlan confessed his own struggles. A brother who'd been gay, shunned by the family decades ago, dying alone. "I regret not standing up for him," Harlan admitted, voice cracking. "I won't make that mistake with you." Yet, as the night wore on, cracks appeared. Harlan insisted on discretion. "Don't tell your mother yet. She's not ready." Jake pushed back, anger rising. "Why? Because she'll freak out? Dad, we're adults. This is our life." Chad stayed silent, watching the father-son dynamic shift. He saw the pain in Harlan's eyes, the internal war between love and ingrained beliefs. By midnight, they agreed to an uneasy truce. Harlan would stay the weekend, get to know Chad, and they'd figure out next steps. The next morning, over coffee, Harlan grilled Chad about his background. Born in California to liberal parents, Chad had come out in high school without much drama. "You're lucky," Harlan said, almost enviously. "Jake's world is different. Our town. It's not accepting." As days passed, Harlan's presence forced confrontations. Jake wanted to hold hands in public. Harlan cautioned against it. One photo online, and it could ruin your future. Chad felt torn, grateful for Harlan's tentative support, but resentful of the conditions. Then came the dinner. Harlan took them to a steakhouse trying to bond. But midway through, Jake's phone buzzed. A text from his sister, Emily, asking if Dad knew about the boyfriend. Jake paled. How does she know? Harlan sighed. I might have mentioned something vague. She's perceptive. The argument erupted back at the apartment. You told her, Jake yelled. This was supposed to be private. I was testing the waters, Harlan defended. Emily's open-minded. She could help with your mom. Chad intervened, heart racing. Mr. Harlan, with respect, this isn't your secret to share. Harlan's face hardened. He's my son. I have a right to protect him. The tension peaked when Jake stormed out, leaving Chad alone with Harlan. In the quiet, Harlan opened up more. I envy you too, he said softly. The freedom to love without fear. But in my generation, it was different. Chad nodded, empathy stirring. It's still hard, but hiding makes it worse. That night, Jake returned, apologetic but firm. If we're doing this, Dad, you have to accept it fully. No half measures. Harlan agreed, but Chad sensed the storm brewing. Little did they know, Emily's knowledge would spread, pulling in the extended family and forcing choices none of them anticipated. The weekend blurred into a haze of revelations and regrets. Harlan extended his stay, citing business. But Chad knew it was to monitor them. Mornings were civil, pancakes and polite chatter, but evenings devolved into debates. Harlan shared stories of his youth, how societal pressure shaped him into the man he was. I married young because it was expected, he confessed one night over whiskey. Your mom and I, we make it work, but it's not passion. Jake listened, fascinated and horrified. So you're saying you're unhappy? Harlan waved it off. Happiness is overrated. Stability matters. Chad disagreed silently. His own parents' divorce taught him that forced normalcy bred resentment. But voicing it risked alienating Harlan further. Then Emily called. Jake put her on speaker. Bro, Dad told me everything. I'm happy for you. Chad sounds great. Jake relaxed, but Harlan tensed. Don't tell Mom, Em. Not yet. Why not? Emily pressed. She's not as closed-minded as you think. The call ended awkwardly, planting seeds of doubt. Chad worried about the ripple effects. What if Emily slipped up? Jake's family was tight-knit. Secrets didn't last. Midweek, the first crack appeared. Jake's mom, Linda, texted. Heard from Emily you're seeing someone special. Bring her home soon. Jake laughed bitterly. Her. Great. Harlan urged patience. We'll ease her into it. But Jake was done waiting. No, Dad. I'm telling her myself. Chad supported him, but fear gnawed. That night, Jake video-called his mom. Chad and Harlan hovered in the background. Mom, it's not a her. It's Chad. My roommate. We're together. Silence stretched. Linda's face crumpled. What? Jake, honey, are you sure? This isn't normal. Jake's voice shook. It's who I am, Mom. Linda turned to Harlan off-screen. You knew? And didn't tell me? Harlan stepped in. I was protecting you both. The call exploded into accusations. Linda cried about grandkids and family legacy. What will the neighbors say? The church. Jake hung up, tears streaming. Chad held him, whispering comforts, while Harlan paced, guilt etched deep. The next day, Linda flew in unannounced. The apartment became a battlefield. This is a phase, she insisted, hugging Jake tightly. You've always been impressionable. Chad stood by, invisible yet central. When Linda addressed him, it was with forced politeness. You're a nice boy, but this isn't right for my son. Harlan mediated, defending Jake. Linda, times have changed. We can't force him. But Linda's pain turned to anger. You enabled this. Your brother was the same. And look what happened. Harlan flinched. Don't bring him up. The argument unearthed old wounds. Harlan's brother, Uncle Tom, had been disowned in the 80s. Linda blamed Harlan for not fighting harder. You chose the family line over blood. Chad watched, heart aching. This wasn't just about him and Jake. It was generational trauma unfolding. Jake, overwhelmed, suggested a break. Maybe we should cool it, he whispered to Chad later. Chad's world tilted. What? Because of them? No, Jake said, eyes pleading. To protect us. Until things settle. Betrayal stung. Chad agreed reluctantly, but inside, resentment brewed. Harlan noticed, pulling Chad aside. Give him time. He's torn. But time only amplified the divide. Linda stayed, cooking meals laced with passive aggression. I just want what's best, she'd say, glancing at Chad like an intruder. One evening, alone with Harlan while Jake and Linda shopped, the conversation turned personal. You remind me of Tom, Harlan said. Confident, unapologetic. Chad probed gently. What happened to him? Harlan's voice cracked. AIDS. Alone in San Francisco. I should have reached out. Sympathy softened Chad's edges. You can make it right now. With Jake. Harlan nodded, but doubt lingered. At what cost? Losing Linda? The life we've built. The question hung heavy. When Jake returned, he announced, Mom wants me to come home for a bit. Clear my head. Chad's heart sank. And us? Jake hesitated. We'll figure it out. As Jake packed, Chad confronted him. You're choosing them over me. No, Jaque insisted. I'm buying time. But it felt like abandonment. Harlan drove them to the airport, the ride silent. At the gate, Jake kissed Chad quickly. I love you. Wait for me. Linda watched, lips pursed. Harlan squeezed Chad's shoulder. He's strong. He'll come back. Alone in the apartment, Chad questioned everything. Had their love been real or just rebellion? The emptiness echoed, forcing him to face his own insecurities. Growing up in a supportive home, he'd never grasped Jake's burdens. Days turned to weeks. Jake's calls grew sparse, laced with excuses. Mom's struggling. Dad's mediating. Chad threw himself into school, but loneliness festered. Then Harlan called. Jake's not doing well. Can you come visit? The invitation surprised Chad. Flying to Indiana felt like entering enemy territory. But for Jake, he'd go. Arriving at the Harlan home, a quaint colonial in a sleepy town, Chad felt out of place. Linda greeted him coolly. Harlan was warmer. Jake looked thinner, eyes shadowed. That night, over dinner, tensions simmered. Linda probed Chad's influences. Jake defended him weakly. Later, in the guest room, Chad and Jake talked. I miss you, Jake said. But here, it's suffocating. Then come back, Chad urged. Jake sighed. I can't abandon them. The impasse deepened. Chad realized love alone wasn't enough. Society's chains were too tight. The Harlan household pulsed with unspoken resentments. A pressure cooker ready to burst. Chad's visit, meant to bridge gaps, only highlighted fractures. Mornings brought forced civility. Linda's homemade biscuits served with side-eye glances. Harlan escaped to his home office, burying himself in case files, while Jake shuttled between placating his mom and stealing moments with Chad. One afternoon, walking the neighborhood, Jake opened up. Dad's trying, but Mom, she thinks therapy will fix me. Chad stopped, anger flaring. Fix you? Like you're broken. Jake shrugged. She's scared of what people will say. They passed the local church, its steeple looming like a judgment. Chad felt the weight of eyes from passing cars. Small-town curiosity turning to suspicion. Back home, Linda cornered Chad. Do you understand what you're asking of him? To upend his life. I love him, Chad replied steadily. That's all. Linda's eyes welled. Love? This will destroy our family. Harlan intervened, pulling her away. Later, he confided in Chad. She's hurting because it challenges her world. Give her time. But time was a luxury slipping away. Jake's indecision gnawed at Chad. Choose. Chad whispered one night in the dim guest room. Us or this facade? Jake pulled him close. I want both. Impossible, Chad thought. The next day, Emily arrived, a whirlwind of support. Ignore the haters, she told Jake, hugging him fiercely. To Linda, Mom, get with the times. Linda bristled. Easy for you to say. You're not the one facing gossip at book club. The family dinner that evening ignited. Emily pushed for openness. Post about it online. Own it. Linda slammed her fork. And invite hate? Ruin his career. Harlan mediated. Let's not rush. Jake exploded. Stop deciding for me. I'm gay, Mom. Deal with it. Silence fell. Linda fled to her room, sobbing. Harlan followed, leaving the siblings and Chad. Emily high-fived Jake. About time. But Jake looked wrecked. Did I just break her? Chad comforted him, but doubt crept in. Was pushing worth the pain? The fallout lingered. Linda avoided them, communicating through notes. Harlan grew distant, regretting his initial acceptance. I thought I could handle this, he admitted to Chad over coffee. But seeing her like this, it's tearing me apart. Chad empathized. Love shouldn't cost this much. Harlan's eyes met his. Sometimes it does. A turning point came mid-visit. Jake received a job offer in Chicago. A dream internship. This could be our fresh start, he told Chad excitedly. But Linda overheard. You're not going back there. Not with him. The ultimatum hit hard. If you leave, don't come back, she said, voice trembling. Jake wavered. Harlan pleaded for compromise. Stay a bit longer. We'll work it out. Chad felt invisible, a catalyst for chaos. I should go, he said quietly. Jake grabbed his arm. No. Stay. The night escalated into a full confrontation. In the living room, accusations flew. Linda blamed Chad for corrupting Jake. Harlan defended his son's right to happiness. Emily called out hypocrisy. Jake, center stage, finally snapped. I'm done hiding, he shouted. If you can't accept me, that's on you. Linda collapsed in tears. You're choosing him over us? No, Jake said softly. I'm choosing myself. The room fell silent. Harlan stood, hugging Jake. I'm proud of you, son. Linda stormed out. The victory felt hollow. Chad wondered if the price, a fractured family, was too high. Jake decided to return to Chicago with Chad. Packing was tense. Linda didn't say goodbye. Harlan drove them to the airport, words sparse. Call your mom, Harlan advised Jake. She'll come around. Jake nodded, doubtful. As they boarded, Chad squeezed his hand. We did it. But back in the apartment, normalcy eluded them. Jake was moody, checking his phone constantly. No calls from Linda. Harlan texted updates. She's angry, but misses you. Guilt weighed on Jake. Maybe I was too harsh. Chad reassured him. You stood up for us. Yet cracks formed. Jake withdrew, spending hours alone. Chad pushed for therapy. Jake resisted. I don't need fixing. One evening, Jake confessed. Part of me wonders if Mom's right. Is this worth losing my family? Chad's heart broke. Am I not enough? Jake backtracked. Of course. But it's hard. The argument spiraled. Chad accused Jake of cowardice. Jake called Chad insensitive. They slept apart for the first time. Next morning, apologies flowed, but trust frayed. Harlan called, sensing trouble. Hang in there. I'll visit soon. His arrival reignited old tensions. Harlan brought news. Linda wanted reconciliation, but on terms. No public displays. No Chad at family events. Jake refused. That's not acceptance. Harlan sighed. It's a start. Chad saw the manipulation. Mr. Harlan, you're enabling her denial. Harlan bristled. I'm trying to keep my family together. The visit ended badly. Jake and Harlan argued. Chad mediated futilely. Alone again, Jake spiraled. Maybe we need space. Chad agreed, devastated. He moved to a friend's couch, giving Jake time. Weeks passed in limbo. Chad focused on classes, but heartache lingered. Jake's texts were sporadic, affectionate yet distant. Then, a bombshell, Jake's social media post. A photo of him at Pride, caption, "Out and proud. Thanks to those who supported me." Chad's heart soared. He rushed to the apartment. Jake opened the door, eyes bright. "I choose us." They embraced, but joy was tempered. The post went viral in their small circles. Hate comments poured in, from old friends, distant relatives. Linda called, furious. "You've embarrassed us." Jake hung up, resolute, but the backlash hit hard. Jake lost a family friend connection for his internship. Sacrifice piled up. Chad questioned if love justified the wreckage. Rebuilding wasn't easy. The scars from family rifts ran deep. Jake threw himself into activism, joining campus LGBTQ groups, channeling pain into purpose. Chad supported him, attending meetings where stories of rejection mirrored their own. But privately, Jake's nightmares revealed unresolved trauma, dreams of disownment, isolation. Harlan visited sporadically, a bridge between worlds. "Your mom's softening," he'd say. "She asks about you." Jake snorted. "Does she ask about Chad?" Harlan hesitated. In time, the partial acceptance grated. Chad urged patience, but his own family noticed the toll. His mom called, "Honey, if it's this hard, is it worth it?" "Yes," Chad insisted, but doubt seeded. A crisis loomed when Jake's grandmother fell ill. The family summoned him home, alone. "No plus ones," Linda texted. Jake agonized. "She's dying. I have to go." Chad understood, but it stung. "Go. But don't hide who you are." Jake promised. At the hospital, tensions flared. Relatives whispered about that phase. Linda shushed them but avoided mentioning Chad. Harlan pulled Jake aside. "Don't rock the boat now." Jake complied, guilt gnawing. Back in Chicago, he confessed. "I didn't correct them when they assumed I was single." Betrayal cut deep. Chad exploded. "So I'm a secret again?" "It was for Grandma," Jake defended. The fight escalated. "You're ashamed," Chad accused.
"No, I'm protecting."
They broke up that night, words like daggers. Chad packed, tears blurring vision. "I can't be your hidden truth." Jake didn't stop him. Solitude hit Chad hard. Friends consoled, but emptiness echoed. He threw himself into work, avoiding places tied to Jake. Jake fared worse. Harlan called Chad weeks later. "He's a mess. Drinking too much. Talk to him." Chad refused. He made his choice, but fate intervened. At a Pride event, they collided. Jake looked haunted. "I miss you." Chad's resolve cracked. "You hurt me." Jake nodded. "I was scared of losing everything." They talked for hours, unpacking fears. Jake admitted his indecision stemmed from internalized shame. Dad's acceptance was conditional. Mom's none at all. "It messed me up." Chad shared his own pain. "I felt like the villain in your family story." Reconciliation sparked. They agreed to therapy together. Sessions unearthed layers. The therapist probed family dynamics, societal pressures. Jake confronted his parents via letter. "Accept all of me or lose me." Linda's response was tearful. A call begging forgiveness. "I was wrong. Come home with Chad." Skeptical, they visited. The reunion was awkward but genuine. Linda hugged Chad.
"I'm sorry."
"I was afraid." Harlan beamed. "We're learning." Healing began slowly. Family therapy followed. Old prejudices surfaced, debated, dismantled. But not without cost. Some relatives cut ties. Church friends distanced. Jake lost his internship due to controversy. He pivoted, starting a blog on LGBTQ experiences. It gained traction, turning pain into advocacy. Chad admired his growth. Their bond strengthened, forged in fire. Yet shadows lingered. At a family gathering, an uncle's snide remark sparked argument. Jake stood firm. Harlan backed him. Linda wavered but stayed. "For my son," she said. Back in Chicago, life normalized. They moved in together fully, no hiding. One night, Jake proposed not marriage but commitment. Through whatever comes. Chad accepted, tears flowing. Harlan's visit sealed it. "I'm proud," he said, toasting them. Linda sent well wishes, a step forward. But perfection eluded. Jake's blog attracted trolls. Chad worried about safety. In quiet moments, they reflected on the journey, the betrayals, sacrifices. "Was it worth it?" Chad asked. Jake smiled. Every scar. Their story became a beacon for others, shared in support groups. Friends envied their resilience. Yet Chad pondered the moral gray areas. Had pushing boundaries been right or selfish? The damage to family ties, reparable but forever altered. As they built their future, questions remained. Society evolved, but slowly. Their love endured, a testament to perseverance. Years blurred the sharp edges of their struggles, but the core lessons remained etched in their souls. Jake's blog evolved into a podcast, Out in the Open, where he interviewed others navigating similar paths. Chad contributed behind the scenes, his steady presence grounding Jake's fiery passion. Their apartment, once a battlefield, became a sanctuary filled with laughter and shared dreams. Harlan retired early, moving closer to Chicago for grandkid potential. A joke that masked his genuine evolution. He volunteered at LGBTQ centers, atoning for past silences. Linda joined him occasionally, her transformation slower but sincere. Family holidays shifted from tense to tentative warmth, with Chad fully included. Yet, echoes of conflict resurfaced. When Jake's cousin came out, the family turned to them for advice. "How did you survive?" the young man asked. Jake shared honestly, "By choosing truth over comfort. But it hurts," Chad added. "And by forgiving yourself and others." The guidance helped, but reminded them of their own scars. Jake sometimes woke sweating from dreams of rejection. Chad battled lingering insecurity, wondering if Jake regretted the upheaval. Therapy continued, a lifeline. "Love demands sacrifice," the counselor said. "The question is, whose?" They pondered that. Had Linda sacrificed her beliefs? Harlan his peace? Jake his innocence? Chad his optimism? Society's role loomed large. In a country divided by politics, their story highlighted broader battles. Laws protecting rights one day, challenged the next. Jake testified at hearings, voice steady despite threats. One evening, after a heated debate online, Jake collapsed into Chad's arms. "Is it ever enough?" Chad held him. "We're making change. That's enough." Their commitment deepened. They married quietly, Harlan walking Jake down the aisle, Linda beaming through tears. The ceremony symbolized victory, but not without absence. Some relatives boycotted. Post-honeymoon, challenges mounted. Jake's podcast drew a stalker, forcing security measures. Chad's job suffered from association. Whispers of agenda in meetings. They pushed through, advocacy fueling resilience. Friends marveled. "You two are unbreakable." But privately, doubts crept. Did we force too much? Jake mused one night. Chad reflected. Or not enough. Hiding would have been worse. The moral quandaries persisted. Was outing oneself a right or a risk? Family loyalty versus personal truth. Where's the line? As their influence grew, so did scrutiny. A conservative outlet labeled them family destroyers. Jake fired back in an op-ed. "We rebuilt stronger." Support poured in, but hate mail too. Harlan worried. "Be careful." Linda called weekly, her acceptance full. "I love you both." The journey taught them empathy's power. Jake reconciled with distant kin. Chad mentored youth. In quiet reflection, they acknowledged the trade-offs. Lost friendships, strained bonds, but gained authenticity, community. One anniversary, over dinner, Harlan raised a glass. "To choices that define us." Jake clinked. "And the prices we pay." Later, alone, Chad asked, "Regrets?" Jake smiled. "None." "You?" "Only that it took pain to get here." Their story, once private drama, inspired many. But at its heart, it posed eternal questions about love, identity, and society. As they looked to the future, perhaps adoption, more advocacy, they knew peace was fragile, earned through fire. In the end, was forcing acceptance through confrontation the right path? Or did it cause unnecessary harm that true understanding could have avoided without the drama?